Look at that. We did it.
Hello, hello, hello. It
Hi,
worked.
Christy.
It
How are
worked.
you?
Good. How about you?
Good, good. Hi, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Kay Nicholson, obviously. It's my Instagram that you're seeing this on, but whether we're friends or not, I'm so glad that you're here, whether you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay. And I'm here with my dear friend and just such an angel in my life, Kim Hope. And the purpose of this live is, well, just a little bit about me. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I volunteer with PTA and the Volleyball Booster Club and all the things, right? I have a 14-year-old son who's a freshman in high school. And I've also been a health coach for the last 5 years. And I'm recently, over the last year, been studying to become a certified integrative nutrition health coach. So lots of information that I've learned this year. And the purpose of this live today is to relate and connect to other women over 40 who have been struggling with their health and have either been had their symptoms dismissed by conventional medicine. I know a lot of people have had that experience, and it's not just women, but here we're talking about women today, or have had basic routine blood tests and they've been told that they're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. You're okay, but intuitively you know that there's something off. Or if you've had a major health event and you have not bounced back to your normal self. That's what this video, or that's what this live here is for, as I kind of share my story. So I'm going to just give you guys a little bit of background just to kind of put it into context. And then I'm going to pull Kim in, and then we're going to talk about kind of what we've done for me with regard to that. So a little bit about the backstory. So I had gotten healthy just by making some lifestyle changes back in 2018. So from January to June, I changed my lifestyle. I stopped eating foods that were inflammatory to my body. Every body is different. So the foods that were particularly to me, I increased my vegetable intake. I prioritized water. I prioritized sleep and movement and all the things. And my body, I lost 50 pounds, and I had struggled for 9 years to lose that extra 50 pounds of baby weight that I had when I got pregnant with my son. So then fast forward, so that was 2018. I kept it off for 3 years. So through the pandemic even, I still was rocking and rolling. Everything was great until it wasn't. And then early November of 2021, I came down with some abdominal pain over the weekend, and I didn't present like a normal appendicitis did. I didn't have a fever. I wasn't throwing up, all the things, right? There's all these different things. So that's a really good cautionary tale too, that your symptoms might be different than what normally presents. So came down with appendicitis, had my appendix taken out. They found a cancer tumor at the end of my appendix, and I was so grateful that it was just wrapped up in one little tight little bow, so it didn't spread. I had a bunch of tests afterwards. And then about 2 weeks after I had my appendix taken out, I was done with my first course of antibiotics from the appendectomy. My side started hurting again. I immediately jumped on it, went back to my surgeon's office. He sent me to the emergency room, and I had a raging infection and a liver abscess. And the liver abscess was caused from the infectious disease doctor explained it when you lay down and there's like infection floating around. They had guessed that there was a perforation in my appendix when they took it out. And while I was on the antibiotics, it kept the infection at bay. But as soon as I got off of it, it just raged and turned into a raging infection. So your liver will want to clean it up. And that's why it made that abscess. So I was in over the holiday of Thanksgiving for about 4 or 5 days, intravenous antibiotics. They put a port in my arm, sent me home with antibiotics. So the course of antibiotics that I was on was gnarly, and it was for a really long time, right? So it ended up being more than 2 weeks at that particular point. So they cleared me of the infection. Everything was quote unquote fine. I got sent home. I had major PTSD from that whole entire experience because it was scary. It was traumatizing, just all the things. And there was no aftercare plan. They basically, the antibiotics saved my life. Thank God. We're really great. Our society is really great, and America's really great at triage and emergency medicine. But where we fall short oftentimes, and a lot of times, is in that care, either preventative care or after a major health event care. So I had so about the next 18 months after that, things seemed like it was okay. And then all of a sudden, I started having weight gain that was kind of unexplained. I was eating, still maintaining my healthy lifestyle. I was having 30-day long bleeds very often. And I would go to my gynecologist, and the solution was either a pill or a procedure. I can put you back on the pill, or we can do an ablation. And no offense to anyone who's ever had an ablation, but I was not interested in having my uterus burned like that. That's not something that I wanted to entertain for my particular case. So it was a pill or a procedure rather than trying to get to the root cause of what was going on. I had major fatigue. I wasn't even offered, and I didn't think about it myself because I was so depleted, that, hey, you probably need some iron because you're like bleeding for 30 days. Like, it's crazy. So sometimes we think that these symptoms are normal and we've accepted it, and they're not. They're absolutely not. So you're going to learn a little bit about that in just a second. Major fatigue and trouble sleeping as well, among other things, but that's just kind of that. So I started talking to Kim. So I'm going to let Kim introduce herself and give a little bit of background about her, and then we're going to kind of go back and forth, and she'll explain kind of what we started to do and how we started to just just interrupted me. So we were talking about getting to the root cause of what happened. So Kim, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Oh shoot. Are we, hang on a second. I think we are. Oh my gosh. I hate it when I get a phone call in the middle of a live because it just jacks it up. So Kim, are you there?
Back on. I got
Oh my God.
disconnected.
Every time my phone rings when I
Yeah.
do a live, it stops it.
Yeah.
So I hope this is continuing to go on. But
No, it's
anyway,
good. I saw
so
you. I just got disconnected from my part. So that's
okay,
totally
good.
fine. Got to hear your story.
Okay.
Yes. So, like Kay had said, so many people have maybe similar symptoms, especially women. We're so active, raising our children. We seem to put ourselves last. And I, like Kay, had health issues myself about 5 to 6 years ago, where the fatigue, the headaches, joint aches, and a lot of it I just passed off because a lot of people had the same symptoms. So everybody in their 40s or whatever, hey, we all feel the same way, until I asked my doctor, I know something more is wrong. And through testing, oh, we don't need to be testing, listen, you're hitting menopause. This is what happens. You're supposed to gain weight. Like, oh, yep, all these menopause symptoms, yada, yada. And until like I really demanded to have, further testing done. And their diagnosis, a lot like Kay, is, listen, guess what? It's a thyroid issue, and here's medication, and you're going to be on it the rest of your life. And I just did not like that answer, just like she didn't want to have the ablation. And that led me on my health journey that started with, just eliminating foods and doing different things until I saw a major shift in my body and met a type of wellness plan that wasn't tied to what I consider modern medicine through the Wellness Way, which is a series of chiropractics, around the world now. It used to be in just the United States, where we really look for function and look for root causes. And, there's certainly a time and place. Kay needed emergency medicine. She needed to go to the hospital. She needed to take care of it. That is that fireman approach, where a fireman, the doctor comes in with their axes and hose and saves your life. The problem with that is that then her house had fallen apart. They maybe fixed whatever was going on with her at the time, but didn't really address why. Like, why did that happen to begin with? And like she said, leaving her with aftercare. There is a time and place for pharmaceuticals, even antibiotics. She was on a lot of antibiotics. But the problem lied after that is, antibiotics are great in an emergency situation, but antibiotics also wiped out all the good and the bad. There is supposed to be a healthy balance of bacteria in your gut to help when, we come across bacteria, and help with nutrient breakdown and help you absorb vitamins and minerals that are needed for life processes. And when we're on a heavy duty antibiotic like she was, and then you just send her out the door and say, we cured you, goodbye. left her with a lot of host of problems, in all honesty. And I'm just thankful that she stopped ignoring how she was feeling and started looking to me, who had since become a practitioner, because I felt if I had these symptoms and I was not being tested properly and I was not being addressed at the root cause of things, then how many other women were like me? And I'm finding a lot. And you know, so where we bridge that gap, and where, you know, Kay is going to be bridging that gap as a health coach, and where I bridge that gap as a functional nutritionist and a practitioner. I do diagnostic testing that falls short in our current medical model. They really do not do complete testing. They just fall just a little bit short. You know, for women, you know, especially for, say, hormone testing, where they are testing through the blood, they're looking for, they might be testing your estradiol, which is just one estrogen. Like when we say, oh, our estrogen is out of balance, estrogen is a blanket term for multiple estrogens. Are they looking at all of them? For thyroid, like for me, they were looking at just TSH. TSH isn't even a thyroid hormone. It's a stimulating hormone. Had I been tested properly, we would have seen where the other functions were off regarding my thyroid, and even looking for what's blocking the conversion, which we figured out, and I've been since able to heal from that. Thus leading us to Kay is that, you know, doctors were looking at her blood, but they weren't looking at all of her blood numbers that they really needed to be looking at. And here is a major missing piece in this medical medium, is that, you know, so doctors were testing her for what her production level was. And and again, weren't even looking, you know, I sent her back to her doctor and said, ask him to look for all of this, so we can see what all of the things that are making, and there's more to it than just your estrogens. Like, you know, we need to know where your cholesterol is, where your blood sugar levels are. Sugar plays an important part. You know, again, your iron levels, and your ferritin, which is your iron storage. Like, there's a lot of things that tie into it. We just aren't looking at, oh, geez, you're making enough estrogen, so we're good because we only tested estradiol. But the missing piece is that then they aren't looking at the metabolites. You know, you could be eating the healthiest diet. You're like, oh, I eat all my fruits, my vegetables, and I eat really good, and so I know I'm doing good. Well, are you or are you not? Because just because you think you are, if you've got a gut problem or something else that's not helping you assimilate and break down and absorb it, then it doesn't matter how healthy you're eating. And the same goes for hormones. So say for Kay, we ran, this is called a Dutch test. So her doctor, what's really interesting, you know, doctors will say, you've got too much cholesterol, we need you on a cholesterol medicine. Well, cholesterol is at the top of what makes all of your hormones. If you were eliminating your cholesterol, you're going to make sure that you're not really even making, you know, your hormones properly. But when your hormones break down, her doctor's answer was to give her progesterone, and that was going to be the only answer they had for her, and that was going to stop the bleeding, except it wasn't, and the bleeding was getting worse. Where we tested her hormones, and this actually shows how her hormones break down from pregnenolone to progesterone into her stress hormones. But these are her different estrogens, and all of these were extremely high. They were off the charts high, which meant that basically it wasn't staying at testosterone. All of her, it's one thing to look in the blood and say, okay, this is what your body's making, but how is it breaking down and exiting the body? It was breaking down all into estrogen. She's storing that in her body. It is causing significant bleeding. And not to mention the way it's exiting the body, too much of it was exiting down this red pathway, which this is an oxidative pathway, which is a precursor to breast cancer and uterine cancer. And how would doctors know that unless they were testing her properly? So, you know, because we figured out that you had a very estrogen dominant problem, I could give you herbs,
Hmm.
not medication and not more hormone, to facilitate your body to kind of push that back up the pathway so that your estrogen wasn't all coming down to the same pot. Like we're trying to get it up and trying to get it down to help it balance out. Like so many women are, people know that we have imbalanced hormones, and it's just become this normal thing. Women are out of balance. Oh, you're having symptoms up, you're having hot flashes. Oh, you're having night sweats, you're having that inability to sleep. Here's a pill, here's a cocktail, here's this thing that's going to balance your hormones. If you don't know what's out of balance to begin with, how can you take something? You don't, it's almost as bad as doctors handing you pills and saying this is what's going to fix you.
Yeah, and I actually, kind of going back to that, when my doctor offered me the 4 progesterone pills to stop, to quote unquote stop my bleeding, I refused them because I was like, you don't even know where my hormones are right now. How can you give me something and you don't know where they're at? So for me, it just made sense. And a lot of people don't understand that there are these tests that are out there with reputable functional practitioners that they can do that. Doctors don't offer this, and it's a really sad missing piece that I'm hoping that we are educating people on, that we can find, you can find the answers if you're willing to get, some of this testing done and stuff. And it makes such a difference. And for me, because I had already had cancer on my appendix, it scared the shit out of me because I was like, most cancers are estrogen dominant. And I was like, full stop, what do we do? Holy crap, like, let's go. And then the other thing that was happening, which we had talked about, was my body was recycling the estrogen. My liver wasn't clearing it. And I learned too in my health coaching program that when you're drinking alcohol, your liver will prioritize the foreign toxin of alcohol over clearing that extra hormone. So as soon as I learned that, I was like, I'm done.
Right.
I'm taking a hiatus from any and all drinking except for over the holiday. But, it was like, that was really scary. So I'm so glad that we did that extra testing to really get, what we were able to do was zoom out and get an overarching picture of what was going on in my body. Right. And that's a missing piece in conventional medicine.
Right. And so, when they talk about, like, when, women, like we said, so many women have, imbalanced hormones, and, or having, if you have any signs of, especially premenopause, menopause symptoms, that's your body whispering to you. That is not normal. We've made it super common. Mm-hmm. But again, it never is a hormone problem. Our body has the ability, it should be running smoothly. Your hormones should work. Something happens within our body that changes it, from the stress that we're on, mental stress, physical stress, chemical stress, from the amount of chemicals we're putting in and on our body, and things just go awry. And so, yes, we knew from this that your hormones were out of, needed to be adjusted. And just like a cancer, so many women are put through, stuff to help them with breast cancer. But this still doesn't answer, why did they have breast cancer to begin with? Why are your hormones, the way they are? If you can try to fix it, but the problem is still going to be there. So I could help you, facilitate, helping you with your hormones. But if we aren't addressing why that happened to begin with, it's going to start all over again, which is why we did other testing, like looking at, and these are basic things, again, that are not being done, but addressing the foods that you're eating every day. And we have every single person, because we cannot help but have leaky gut because of the exposures that we have, and that when we have leaky gut, proteins from the foods that we eat actually leave and exit through those leaks. And our body is super smart. It knows things shouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. So proteins show up every day, and you've got these little helper cells running around like little policemen writing tickets. See that right there? Stop that car. Stop. It's going to stop it. And all of these foods are things that Kay was reacting to. And here she was trying to be on a healthy living, changing her lifestyle, eating healthy food like almond, cashew, drinking those milks every day, eggs, kale, putting kale in your smoothie, peas, pistachios, chia seeds, hemp seeds. These are normal foods, healthy foods, but to her body. This is to her body, not to your body. If anybody's listening, her body was reacting to. And why was there such a leaky gut problem is because then again, here is another piece of a puzzle is that we looked further into her gut. We ran a stool test and looked and found because there was leaky gut, because there was that membrane was so compromised, she had additional bacterial overgrowth and yeast infection, which is going to make it almost impossible to have good hormone metabolism. So this is the part that I really want people to understand is that there are more options out there for your health, which I am so glad you listened and invested in to know you are never going to get these answers stayed on this narrow-minded path of our doctor must know better, our doctor must know better. They have not had the education in nutrition. It's 10 hours tops. They don't know what to do with a test like this because they're going to just throw more antibiotics at you, which is going to throw off your gut even more. And had you been given proper care after your surgery, instead of being dosed up on a lot of antibiotics, well, okay, now we've got to pump you back up with prebiotic foods. We've got to give you some bacteria back in to replenish that. No, you're just sent out the door. We cured you. You're done. And maybe you wouldn't be in a bind like this, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And then kind of shifting gears just a little bit, you know, I recently learned too, this was like last week, our entire life, I'm just going to use the appendix as the example. We've pretty much been told, at least my generation, that our appendix really serves no purpose. And you don't need it. You can live without it. Well, I saw a video or a reel the other day from Dr. Flynn, and he was talking about, you know, if you lose your appendix, how do you compensate for that? Because it actually has a function. So let's talk about that for a second. So I know, you know, lots of people have their appendix, some people don't have their appendix, but when you take a body part out, whether it's a gallbladder or an appendix or whatever,
we
it's
really
like that
start
actually.
Up here. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, how many kids, I look at my own children and you can't go back and you can't fix things, but every organ has a function. They're not just in our bodies doing anything. Taking out tonsils and adenoids, part of your immune system. Taking out your spleen, taking out those appendix. That's what takes over that function. Now your immune system is compromised. And you know, parents will say, but I had an infection, or they were swollen, but what led it to that? Again, if we like doing a stool test, to me, like, yes, this should be standard of care. We all every year should be getting a stool test. We should be checking for food allergies. They're only looking for emergency allergies, for anaphylactic reactions, because those are the ones that can give you an EpiPen. Those IgG reactions are causing destruction that then they're just going to throw a medication on it. But yes, I mean, a gallbladder it's stored bile, but it was a sensory organ. So when you take that out, then your liver has to then decide, how much bile do I dump? Do I hold on to it? Do I not? Oh, wait, I'm also helping metabolize hormones. And oh, wait, I'm also a filtering organ and detoxifying. There is consequences to removing organs. And I even think back, you know, for me, removing my, you know, doing a hysterectomy, and yeah, we left my ovaries. So I was like, oh, great. I just don't have, all these women are like, but I won't get a period now, so I'm happy. Do you realize what you're doing to your hormones and how the rest of your body is going to function? They teach us it's okay to remove those instead of working at ways to help save organs. Cutting and prescribing is all they know, and you can't blame them because that's all they were taught. And more doctors are they're being pushed into, even overrun by hospitals that are being overseen by pharmaceutical companies. So we're left on our own to decide, well, my doctor said this, so this must be true. It's true to their version of the story. It's not the whole story.
Right, exactly. So kind of going back to the appendix, I learned that activated charcoal, that's another supplement that I started taking. So the way that I understand it is it's going to compensate for my missing appendix by helping take, toxins out of my digestive tract,
Yep,
which
it's a good binder.
normally, yeah, it's a binder, which will help
Yep.
with that. So, Kim,
But again,
thank you
your
so.
doctors didn't tell you afterwards, by the
No,
way, you've lost this piece of you that's going to help detoxify and help pull things out. Instead, you know, until you go back the next time and, you remove a gallbladder, now you're going to, have issues with a liver, and like, oh, well, eventually we might tell you we can take out your liver. And then without your liver, we'll start heading to different organs. I mean, there's just a
yeah,
consequential effect to every medication we take, to every surgery we have done, even birth. Women don't realize that even birth is a trauma. Every
yeah,
surgery, everything that you do to your body is a trauma. Thoughts, traumas, and toxins are the three things that cause destruction within our body and cause our body to go into chronic illness. And any one of those things at any given day, if they're addressed, we can't help it. We're going to give birth.
yeah,
But then we need that healing journey afterwards. And it's not just, but what are we doing? We're sitting there taking care of babies and, and we don't take care of the mom beyond that. And there's a lot that goes into it besides just saying, oh, I'm going to bring over dinner. And there's
yeah,
a lot that goes into it. We take on a lot, which is why when we get to that menopause stage, we struggle so much because our adrenals now take over from what your ovaries used to make all your hormones. Now your adrenals have taken over.
hmm,
And oh, by the way, we're stressed because we're the ones taking the kids to the doctor appointment. We're the ones doing all the scheduling. We're still making all the food and we're keeping life going.
yeah,
But oh, by the way, that same organ now has to help with making hormones. That's why we get off track. We just need to learn to support it, but you don't know until you get tested. And if we're not testing through our doctors, we need to advocate for better testing. And that's going to mean sometimes we're going to have to invest in ourselves, unfortunately, outside of the current medical model.
yeah, absolutely. And that for both of us has become kind of our motivation,
Mhm.
navigating through our own health journey and then getting ourselves educated to then be able to pay that forward and help other women. So just to kind of wrap up really quick, thank you so much for coming on with me and discussing this. I can't even express how grateful I am, to be friends with you. Like we were friends before
Yeah.
this, right? And just to have your support in helping me get back to, just optimal health. Like I'm on, it took me a while to get off. It's going to take me a while to get back on, but I am way far ahead, than where I was before. So I'm so grateful. So again, this whole point of this, and I hope that you guys learned something from both Kim and I in kind of sharing my story. It was to relate and connect to other women 40 and over who've been struggling with their health and that have either had their symptoms dismissed by the doctor or dismissed by conventional medicine like I had, or, you've had routine blood tests, you're told you're fine, but intuitively there's something more going on. Please listen to your intuition. Your body is intelligent. Your body is smart. Tune into your intuition, do some meditating on it, whatever you need. Or if you've had a major health event and you didn't have any post-event care, and you need some extra support. So either reach out to myself or Kim. We're here to help you. We're here to serve, and share this with anyone else that you feel needs to hear this. And we'll probably be on another time talking some more. So thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate
No
it.
problem. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have
Take
a
care.
good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.